Hello students, welcome to chemistry class. Previous session what I've explained is about colloids and the continuation of the colloids we'll see. I have explained about what is a colloid system, what are true solutions, what are suspensions and types of colloids, what is a dispersed medium, what is a dispersion phase. All these were explained in the previous session. Now today we'll see about the purification of colloids. Coming to the purification of the colloids, first, a colloidal solution is a solution where the particle size ranges from 1 millimicrons to 200 millimicrons. That is 10 angstrom to 2000 angstrom. And all the colloidal particles are invisible even through the microscope, and light scattering of effect of the particles can be observed under the microscope. Colloidal suspension, when passed through the filter paper, but slowly through the colloidal suspension passes easily through the filter paper, but slowly through the parchment paper. Colloidal particles scatter light, they show the Tyndall effect, and so on. Types of colloids we have seen, and the terms which we have to learn are dispersed phase, dispersed medium. So the dispersed phase is nothing but the part of the colloidal solution which is in less quantity is dispersed phase. And what is dispersed medium? The part of the solution which is major in the system, colloidal system, is called dispersed medium. Okay, so each of the two phases, it can be solid, liquid, gas, and several different types of colloids can be seen. Now, depending upon the states of the aggregation of the dispersed phase and dispersed medium, different types can be possible. Hydrophilic colloids we have seen, hydrophobic colloids, and what is a lyophilic colloid, what is a lyophobic colloids. The colloidal system which has more affinity to dispersed phase and medium is a lyophilic colloid. If the affinity between the dispersed phase and dispersed medium is less, then that is lyophobic colloid. And what is a hydrophilic colloid and a hydrophobic colloid? So if the medium is water other than any other liquid, if the dispersed medium is water, then that is hydrophilic. If the dispersed medium is not, if the dispersed medium is liquid, then you can call it as a hydrophilic and hydrophobic colloids. Coming to the preparations, what we have seen in the previous introduction, I'm telling you. The previous introduction, what I have told you is the preparation of the colloids through dispersion method and through condensation method. So dispersion method you can prepare through mechanical agitation, that is dispersion method. Next, ultrasonic method, peptization, Brady-Garg method. And condensation methods by oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, and by the chemical methods. This is the condensation method by which we prepare the colloids. Now let us have a look on the purification of the colloids, why it is essential. We prepare, after prepare, we need to purify. Presence of impurities, particularly the electrolytes, need to induce precipitation of the salts on standing, and thus they need to be removed by suitable means. So the impurities, particularly the electrolytes, tend to induce precipitation of salts on standing, and thus they must be removed by suitable means. The three simple methods which are employed for this purification of the are dialysis, electrodialysis, ultrafiltration. Okay, so these are the methods by which we can prepare. Here two methods are given, and the ultrafiltration also is another method. See, And when a colloid is prepared, it contains the impurities, and the impurities need to be are electrolytic in nature, and they need to destabilize. They tend to destabilize the colloid solutions. So we need to purify them. These colloid solutions are purified by following methods. That is dialysis, electrodialysis, and ultracentrifugation. We'll see. Ultrafiltration. We'll see. What is dialysis? Dialysis. It is dialysis. The process of dialysis. It is based on the fact that the colloidal particles do not pass through parchment or the cell phone membrane, while the ions of the electrolyte can pass through the cellophane membrane, cellophane membrane. So the colloidal solution is taken in the bag of cellophane, which is suspended in the tub full of fresh water. Here you can observe stand, this stand, dialysis bag, container, here this container, and this is the parchment paper. Electrolyte is there, water. So the colloidal solution is taken in this cellophane bag. It is suspended in the tub full of fresh water. And see, the impurities diffuse out, leaving pure colloidal solution in the bag. The process of separating the particles of colloids from impurities by means of diffusion through a suitable membrane is called dialysis. Next, what is electrodialysis? In the dialysis, the particle in the true solution passes easily through the parchment membrane, while colloidal particles are remained. In this process, the solution is placed in the parchment paper or the cellophane bag, which in turn is suspended in the tank through which the distilled water is circulated, and the soluble impurities diffuse out, leaving the pure salt behind. The process of diffusion may be hastened by using hot water in place of the cold water. So hot dialysis can be done, and even the cold dialysis can be done. So the dialysis may be defined as the process of separating crystalloid from a colloid by diffusion or filtration through fine membrane. The process of dialysis can be quickened by applying electrical field, that is electrodialysis. The dialysis process, here it is low. In order to speed up, it is carried out in presence of, it is carried out in presence of the electrical field. So when the electrical field is applied through the electrodes, the ions of the electrolyte present in the impurities, they diffuse to the oppositely charged electrodes at fast rate. So dialysis carried out in presence of electrical field is known as electrodialysis. So in order to speed in the dialysis, the process of dialysis is quickened by applying electrical field that is provided, and the substance in the true solution is an electrolyte. The process is then is known as electrodialysis. Under the influence of electrical field, it will migrate faster to oppositely charged electrodes placed outside the bag. Okay, so this method, it is clearly given. Here, the cellophane bag, parchment paper bag, cellophane, the container, this contains the colloid. These are the electrodes. Here it is the electrolyte water and the crystalloid water. Addition of the impure salt will take place here. And with the help of electricity, they move to the opposite electrodes. And they move to the opposite electrodes. Okay. In this way, we do the purification. Now coming to the ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration, salt particles directly pass through ordinary filter paper because their pores are large than the size of the salt particles. They're less than 200 millimicrons. Salt particles directly pass through ordinary filter paper because the pores are large, more than 1 to 1000 microns. The size of the soil particles. But if the pores of the ordinary filter paper are made, they are made smaller by soaking the filter paper in the solution of the gelation or the colloid, and subsequently hardened by soaking in the formaldehyde and treated with the filter paper, retain the colloidal particles, allow the true solution particles to escape. So such filtration is nothing but ultrafiltration. Process of separating colloids by ultrafilters is called ultrafiltration. Process of separation of colloids by ultrafilter is called ultrafiltration. So a series of graded ultrafilters can thus be prepared by soaking the filter paper in solutions of colloids of different concentrations. And by using series of graded ultrafilters, this ultrafiltration can be done. So here what I mean to tell is in the purification, one more process not shown here, but ultrafiltration can also be done. So soil particles directly pass through the ordinary filter paper because of their pores are large than the size of the soil. So if the pores of the ordinary filter paper are made smaller by soaking filter paper in the solution of gelation or colloidation, and subsequently they harden by soaking in the formaldehyde, and the treated filter paper again retains the colloidal particles and allow true solution to escape. In that way, ultrafiltration, again and again the filtration is done. Ultracentrifugation is also one of the process. The soil particles prevented from sitting down under the action of gravity by kinetic parts of the solution, parts of the molecules. So ultrafiltration, the soil particles are prevented from settling down under the action of gravity by kinetic imparts of the molecule of the medium. However, the settling force can be enhanced by increasing the high-speed centrifugal machines having different revolutions per minute. That way also you can do. We will see origin of a charge in a colloidal particles. The charge on the colloidal particles, it is developed due to following reasons. Self-dissociation, colloidal electrolytes such as sodium stearate, they dissociate in the solution and the stearate ion and the sodium ions get separated. The hydrocarbon parts of the ions they have a marked affinity from one another. Thus, they cluster together, developing a negative charge on the colloidal soap particles. Okay. So presence of acid or base groups. Proteins have carboxyl group and a basic amino group. Thus, in the acidic solution, colloidal particles of the protein develop a positive charge, whereas in the alkaline solution, a negative charge is developed due to the ionization. Now, selective adsorption of the ions will take place, and the origin of the charge on the soil particles in most cases have been demonstrated to be selective adsorption of the certain ions. So there are positive as well as the negative charges on the colloids due to this electrolytes. The origin of charge on the soil particles in most cases has been said that selective adsorption due to the adsorption of certain types of ions present in the dispersed medium. So the ions come from dispersed medium and thereby you get the charge, the colloid. The negative charge on the metal soils, it is due to the absorption of hydroxyl ions, and it is furnished by traces of alkali used to produce stable soils. So when two or more ions are present in the dispersed medium, selective adsorption takes place. Selective adsorption of ion common to the colloidal particles takes place. Okay, so example, you take the arsenic sulfide. It is due to the adsorption of sulfide ions produced by the ionization of hydrogen sulfide. It is used in the preparation of soil. So ferric hydroxide soil is positively charged because the soil particles adsorb the ferric ions. Thereby you get the charge. So depending upon the ion of the dispersed medium, you get the charge of the colloid. Now we'll see the stability, the most important part of the colloids. So stability of the colloids, colloidal particles, though they are larger than ions and molecules, they are stable. they do not settle under gravity. They have three good reasons for the stability. Brownian motion. Always a continuous movement is a Brownian motion. Yeah, I'm going to tell you in detail about the Brownian motion. Now, Brownian motion is the molecules or ions in the solution, the colloidal particles of the soul are in the state of continuous rapid motion. The continuous rapid motion is nothing but the Brownian movement. That is a zigzag movement they have. They have zigzag movement. The intensity of the Brownian motion falls rapidly with increase in particle size, and yet it is high enough to offset of the gravity in case of the colloidal particles. So Robert Brown, an English botanist, in 1827 observed the pollen grains in the aqueous suspension were in the constant motion. Later on the ultramicroscope, he has observed the colloidal solutions were examined under the microscope. It was found that the particles in the solution were also constant random motion, traveling, no definite set paths, but they're traveling in the zigzag motion. The Brownian movement is due to the bombardment. Brownian movement is due to the bombardment of the colloidal particles of the molecules of dispersion medium. And as a result, the colloidal particles acquire nearly the same kinetic energy as possessed by the molecules of the dispersed phase. Now we'll see the Brownian movement. You can see the zigzag movement, the directionless movement. The diagram, it's not given here. They move zigzag movement in this way. They keep on moving continuously and they're directionless. This colloidal particles. Now we'll see the electrical property. Electrical property, the electrical charge. The most important property of colloidal particles is these are electrically charged. All the particles of the colloid system carry the same charge, while the dispersion medium has equal but opposite charge with the result. So the system as a whole is equally neutral. The presence of equal and similar charge on colloidal particles, it is responsible in giving stability to the system. So the electrical property, the most important property of the colloids. Yeah, there can be positively charged as well as the negatively charged. Therefore, the force of the repulsion keeps the particles scattered even upon the close approach. They do not collide, yeah, due to these charges. Hence, similar charge on the particles of colloid accounts for the stability due to mutual repulsions in the solution. Next, solvation. Solvation, the colloidal particles of a soul are often highly hydrated in the solution. The resulting hydrated shell prevents the close contact cohesion and for the colloidal particles. Comparatively, addition of small amounts of lyophilic colloid called protective colloids. So solvation, the colloid particles, they're hydrated in the solution, and the resulting hydrated shell prevents close contact and cohesion of the colloidal particles. So comparatively, the addition of the small amounts of lyophilic colloid or protective colloids. Now we'll see what properties of the colloids. Yeah, in order to be classified as a colloid, the substance in the dispersed phase, it should be larger, but it can be smaller when it can be larger, but it's smaller than what we can see with the naked eye. So its dimensions were given 1 to 1000 nanometers. If dimensions are small, the substance is considered as a solution. If it is large, then that is suspension. If it is in between, then you call it as a colloid. The common method for classifying colloids based on the phase of the dispersed substance, what it is dispersed. So types of colloids are sol, emulsions, foam, aerosol. So sol is the colloidal suspension which solid particles in the liquid. Emulsions are between two liquids. A foam is formed when a gas particle is trapped in the liquid or so. So The types of the colloids you can see. Even a sol is a colloid, emulsion is a colloid, foam is a colloid, aerosol is a colloid. See, emulsion it is between two liquids. Foam it is formed when gas particles trapped in liquid. Aerosol, small particles of liquid or solids dispersed in gas. Liquid are the solid particles in the gas. So when dispersion medium in water, the colloidal system it is often referred to as hydrocolloid. The particles in the dispersed phase can take place in dispersed phases depending on how much water is available. For example, jello powder mixed with water creates hydrocolloid. So the hydrocolloid is in the creation of medical dressings. In general, colloids have following properties. The dispersed do not dissolve in the dispersed medium. The particles of the dispersed phase are relatively large. They pass through the ordinary filter medium. They scatter the light, that is a Tyndall effect. Particles show random motion, that is a Brownian motion, due to collisions with the molecules of the dispersion phase. So particles absorb ions. Particles may have electrical charge which leads to repulsion forces. These stabilize the colloid dispersion and prevent coagulation. When the particles of the dispersed phase join together, they coagulate separate due to gravity. Particles have large surface area. The colloidal suspensions have negligible effects on colligative properties. Now we'll see the kinetic properties. The Brownian moment, it is also termed as the Brownian motion. As I've told you, the botanist is the zigzag movement of the colloidal particles, continuous random motion. Here, Brownian arises because of the impact of the molecules of dispersion medium on the particles of the dispersion phase. The forces are unequal in different directions, and hence it causes particles to move in zigzag way. Now coming to the optical properties. Tyndall effect. You can see they pass Tyndall effect in 1869. It was observed that if a strong beam of light is passed through colloidal solution, the path of the light is illuminated. This phenomenon is called Tyndall effect. This phenomenon, it is due to scattering of light by colloidal particles. The same is noticed when a beam of light enters dark room in a theaters. You can observe it become visible. So this happens due to scattering of light by particles of the dust in the air. The light source, the true solution, and the colloid. The true solution due to the particles, as you can see, and here it's clearly visible, Tyndall effect. Now we'll see the electrical properties. The electrical property, the particles of the colloidal solution are electrically charged, carry some charge, either positive or the negative. And the dispersion medium has equal opposite charge. The colloidal particles repel each other. They do not cluster together to settle down. For example, arsenic sulfide, gold, so all these I've told you. They contain the positively charged colloidal particles. They exhibit the origin of the colloidal particles. It is due to the absorption of cations or anions by colloidal particles. Micelles carry a charge on them. During the formation of colloids, especially Briggs method, colloidal particles capture electrons and get charged. Now, effect of the addition of the lyophobic colloids. How is the protection? We'll see. The quantity of the electrolyte which is required to coagulate definite amount of colloidal solution depends upon the valency of the coagulating ion. This observation, it was Hardy-Schell's law. Hardy-Schell's law. The main points say the effective ions of the electrolyte in bringing about the coagulation, which carry charge opposite to that of colloidal particles. These are called as the coagulating ions or flocculating ions. Greater is the valency of the coagulating or flocculating ion, greater is the power to bring about the coagulation. So greater is the valency of the coagulating or flocculating, greater is the power to bring about the coagulation. Now, what is the effect when you add the Effect of addition of lyophobic colloid. Electrophoresis. What is electrophoresis? When a potential difference is applied across the platinum electrodes here, a U tube is taken. Yeah, these are the electrodes, distilled water, and a sol is taken. The potential difference applied across the two platinum electrodes immersed in colloidal solution, the particles of the dispersed phase move towards either the positive or the negative electrode. This observation was first discovered by Ross in 1807 and it was investigated later by Linder and Pink. So the movement of the colloidal particles under the action of electrical field is called electrophoresis. So if the colloidal particles move towards the positive electrode, they carry the negative charge on the other hand. If the sol particles migrate towards the negative electrode, that is cathode, they are positively charged. So from the direction of the movement of the colloid, we can detect the charge of the colloid. Every colloid will be having a charge and that can be detected by the electrophoresis. See, the colloid, arsenic, you've taken, that provides the distinct boundary between the electrolyte and the sol. Yeah, platinum, it's placed in the U tube and high potential difference about the 100 volts is applied across the two platinum electrodes. It is observed that the level and the boundary of the colloidal solution falls on the negative electrode since it rises upon the positive electrode side. On reaching the positive electrode, the colloid will get discharged. As a result, the neutralization charge in the colloid gets aggregated and settled down at the bottom. So this is the electrophoresis which is taking place. Now we'll see what is electroosmosis. The electroosmosis, colloidal solution as a whole in electrically neutral in nature. Dispersed medium carries equal and opposite charge to that of the particles of dispersed phase. When the movement of dispersed phase of colloidal solution is prevented by suitable means, the dispersion medium can be made to move under the influence of an applied electrical field or potential. This phenomenon is known as electroosmosis. The movement of the dispersed phase of the colloidal solution by colloidal solution, it is prevented by the dispersion medium and can be made to move under the influence of applied electrical. So, with the electricity, there is a movement of the medium. This is electroosmosis. Movement of the dispersed medium under the influence of electricity is electroosmosis. And an experiment is also demonstrated for the electroosmosis. Now, we'll see one more important property. You know what electrophoresis, electroosmosis? The electrical double layer. Electrical double layer, it was first put forward in the 1850s by Helmholtz. In this model, no electron transfer reaction occurs at the electrode and the solution, it is composed of electrons. So the interaction between the ions in the solution and the electrode surface assumed to be electrostatic in nature and resulted from the fact that the electrode holds a charge density which arises from either excess or deficiency of the electrons at the electrode surface. In order for the interface to remain neutral, the charge held on the electrode is balanced and redistribution of the ions close to the electrode surface takes place. So the electrical double layer can observe electrical double layer. I'm repeating, for these colloids, the electrical property is the electrical double layer. The electrical properties of the colloids can be explained satisfactorily by assuming existence of the electrical double layer of opposite charges at the surface of separation between solid and liquid. See, electrical property of a colloid can be explained here. This way. The electrical property of a colloid can be explained satisfactorily by assuming the existence of the electrical double layer of opposite charges of at the surface of separation between solid and the liquid. At the separation between the solid and liquid. At a solid liquid interface, one part of the double layer is fixed on the surface of the solid. This is fixed layer. One is the fixed layer. And it consists of either positive or the negative charge. On other hand, the second part extending to the liquid phase is known as mobile phase or the diffusion phase. This is fixed layer and this is the mobile layer. Mobile or the diffuse layer. It consists of both types of ions, which net charge of the diffuse layer is equal to the equal and opposite to that of the fixed layer. So such arrangement of the charge is a double layer. There you can see even the zeta potential is arised. Now, so one is the fixed layer, the other one is the mobile layer. Between these two, a diffuse between these two, a mobile layer, there arises a charge. Is zeta potentially arise. One is the fixed layer, the other one is the mobile layer. So solid and the liquid in between these two, fixed layer and the mobile layer, zeta potential is arised. Okay, so this is the point which we have to know the model, the electrical double layer. And these are the properties which have to be discussed for the electrolytes, for the colloids. So what we have discussed today's class is properties of the colloids. Preparations have been completed. Now purification of the colloids, ultrafiltration, dialysis, electrodialysis. And the next one is origin of charge on the colloids, stability of the colloids, Tyndall effect, properties of the colloids, kinetic properties, Brownian moment, optical properties, Tyndall effect, electrical property, electrophoresis, electroosmosis, electrical properties of the this one colloids, and the electrical double layer, how it's formed, what is a zeta potential. Okay, so all these were explained in this class. I hope you have understood today's class. Thank you, everyone.